Hello and welcome to the Fling Show. It's good to have you here today. I'm Hemi. I'm really excited about the show tonight. We're featuring somebody that I have so much respect for, and I'm so glad he agreed to come on the show with Chris Sprague, and we're going to hear from him and see what's going on up in Illinois. I think that's where he is. Uh, but meanwhile, let me get to just a couple of details that I wanted to mention. First of all, been lots of Moffat play lately, and I've played a couple of rounds and getting ready for this Beltway Challenge coming up, hosted by Gorilla and those guys, and had some good times at Moffat. Learned that Agnes Moffat was a crossing guard, a beloved crossing guard for 20 plus years, and that's where the name came from. And so I've kind of fallen in love with it. They got those really nice dynamic disc veteran baskets now, replace the old clunkers that used to spit everything left and right. So it's good to have that. And but mainly I wanted to talk about this memorial they had for Dan Bortote, and I think that's how you say that. They really stepped up. Ben Evans, the Houston Disc Golf, Gorilla, um, the Houston Flying Disc Society, and Matt over at Northside for canceling the mini so that more people could show up for this thing. They raised over $3,000 for this family. It blew me away. It was touching. I'm glad I went. It was really, it's good to see the community that we've all come to, um, be addicted to and participate in and disc golf. And it's good to see them do such great things, and you come to expect it. And but it doesn't go unnoticed, and I really appreciate it. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in before at the top of the show. Chris, what do you got for the 2 minutes tonight?
Well, I know she did leave out right then. Well, welcome everybody. I know she did leave out that you did take first place in that as well. So congratulations on the win there. Getting ready for this weekend. We are going to be doing some live coverage there as well this weekend. Looks like I'll probably get in there probably for the second round to cover that. And then David's got this little hot dog shack he's just a fan of that they're going to be doing the awards ceremony. So if David happens to get on the podium there, we may have to be there for award ceremony as well.
Hey, there's nothing better than cramming into a little tiny space with like 50 people now during COVID. Just nothing better. And smoking, ashtrays everywhere. It's really good. I love it.
Yeah. So we'll get back to the quick 2 minutes, but do give me just a moment. It's really going to be a little bit wordy. We took our break these last couple months, and now we're about to hit this thing full throttle. What we have moving forward on September the 19th and 20th, we have our first bracket of the McKinney Match Play Intermediate bracket, already filled, ready to go. The following weekend on the 26th and 27th, because we had so many people who wanted to be that couldn't be in the first one, now going to be in the second one. So our second bracket of the intermediate will be taking place on the 26th and 27th. We will then determine who the grand champion is by a playoff between the two winners of each bracket. However, each one will be playing for their own pot, their own money. So we'll have 4 winners of cash in both of those. Followed by October the 17th and 18th. Rec boys, it's time for you to step up. You've been hitting us up, banging us up. It's time for y'all to go live, for us to give you some props to guys that I have dearest in my heart, people who never get any coverage. But this time, you're up. So it's going to be October the 17th and 18th. Rec, you're going to be up. We'll be having sign-ups live, 16 spots. Y'all know it's very limited. That's all there is. That's all you got. Unless we get another 16 who just keep banging our heads and we have to have 2 brackets. But we'll see how that goes in the future. After that, we are going to be having be having a BYOP. This is something that a couple of old guys gave me an idea about. So we're going to have a BYOB, a Bring Your Own Partner challenge. We already have 1 slot taken. There's only 4 minimum. I think we can get 8. But I'm telling you, if you're going to beat this mystery team, you better bring your A game. So I can't wait. It's going to be $50 per person, $100 per team. 1-day event. That's going to be on October the 25th. And then October the 31st, we're going to be having our BATB, our Basket Art Target Bazaar Ace Run Challenge. The venue to be determined. We're really close to go ahead and finalizing that. I can't wait. You're going to have some local artists there, hopefully some of our local disc sellers as well. And everything's going to be an Ace Run charity event, tea times, families coming out. Everything's in the shorts. It's going to be really, really fun with some very creative, as you can see behind me, hopefully some creative targets and art baskets that will be brought out. So looking extremely forward to that. Then on November the 8th, we're going to have the McHenry Old Man Match Play Challenge, a one-day event. You got to be old. So if you don't know what it is, look at my partner right over here to my left. He can give you an idea what old looks like.
I can tell you
what I know about our guest this evening, he might be teetering on that edge also of the old acceptable player, because we know down here, old doesn't mean that you're not good. It just means that you're old. You've been around the sun been around the moon a whole lot of times. Lots of times. So anyway, look forward on that on the 8th. And then finally, as you can tell, we have a theme here on how we like to have match play. Well, we're going to do a champion match play challenge. Look for that in early December. That means every winner of the McHenry match plays, from the juniors, the ladies, the open, the intermediate, the advanced, and the rec, are all going to be thrown in together. We're going to pick a course that doesn't just always favor the long arm, so everybody has a chance. Don't you worry. You'll get your chance in there as well. But that is going to determine who is going to be our first McHenry. I think Hemi said it today, our Hall of Famer. That'll be it right there. If you win that, you're going to be our first-year Hall of Famer for the match play. Can't wait. We're going to be busy. Lots of things going on. We also had a wonderful invite to become the show for this year's Texas Disc Golf Hall of Fame. It's going to be held at Red Rock. We'll give you further information as it comes available to us, but I know that him and I look really forward to that, announcing who is the new Hall of Fame members this year. Can't wait for that, but it's in Red Rock there in Central Texas, and we'll be taking the show on the road down there in November sometime. So I really look forward to that. And finally, before I pass it on to Hemi, because I know it's a little bit long in the tooth there, but 2 minutes, the last thing we have to do is give a shout out to our partner, our wonderful partner in crime, Meredith Gary. She has now also become a member of the Empowered Effervescent Catalyst team. So shouts out to her. She's really doing a great job. She's already with Team Discraft as well. So wonderful job. Just want to give her a shout out. And for shooting a 58 this weekend in league and beating almost all the open players as well. Great round. Don't think we didn't notice. And that's what this show is about, is bringing attention to the locals around here. Next, what you got, Hemi?
Well, first of all, about Meredith's 58, it was actually a 56, and she scored it as a 57, and so she got a 2-stroke penalty and down to up to 58. So, but that's a probably, if all that aside, probably a 945, 950 round for her. Good job, Meredith, man. I mean, except for the 2 strokes, but next time, double check that scorecard. I can tell you, I've been stroked probably more than anybody in town in the last couple of years.
Oh, it's a family show, Hemi.
Well, is that why you have pictures of old men behind you?
Yes, the challenge. See,
okay.
Like that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha. Anyway, let's get to the show. Let's give Chris some time to tell us what it is. I knew Chris from way back in the day when he was winning the Des Moines Challenge. It was, I can't remember, it had a different name, different sponsored names, but it was, Des Moines Challenge. He'd win in that all the time. And then he'd win win the Graceland Open all the time. And I was always playing those tournaments. He's somewhat of a hero of mine, always on the podium. And just a stand-up guy. I've got some stories to tell of character and that kind of thing that you need to be a great performer. And he showed it to me over and over in the times that I was lucky enough to get on his card, or if he was playing down, he'd play on my card. But either way, when I did play with him, he's a class act. But Chris, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing tonight?
Oh man, I'm excited. All my Texas boys, I see them tuning in. My Euro, Jim Davidson.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Well, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know Hemi has expressed his thoughts about you, not only as a player, but as a person. And it's great to finally have you on the show. I know he's got some things that he definitely wants to delve into, and your game and how you approach things. But we noticed one thing off the bat is, are you into a bunch of course building? Is this a one-time thing? How many of you gotten yourself into? How many of you touched so far as far as the course building goes?
It's I put a lot of time into one course, but I spent a lot of time in Des Moines working with John Latch and Steve Nix, people in the Des Moines club, just kind of bouncing ideas around, working on the course, getting involved with just basic course maintenance, just everyday, league work. And actually, the first time I worked on a course was in '97 with Juliana Korver. We poured the tee pad on hole, I think, 7 at Grandview disc golf course, and it just kind of, she was she didn't have to be there. She was a 5-time world champion at the time, probably by then, but she's out there working and putting her time in, and she's always been somebody that I kind of look to for direction when it comes to how to be a good person. But she, from then on, I just kind of got the bug, and I think now I've designed or worked on 5 courses. Some are harder than others. I think the easier ones are in the woods. I think the harder ones are when you repurpose like an old 9-hole municipal golf course with no real character to build on, and you're kind of like, well, maybe they'll plant trees, and you're kind of crossing your fingers, and that never comes to, never happens, and then you're left with this course that kind of feels lacking or wanting. But you do the best you can with what you have, and you design to the different audiences that you're trying to please, and that for me is easy. We all like to have fun, and we like to throw shots that are rewarded for landing where they belong. And so, the courses I like to build, we cut all the ninjas out. We're thinning, if it hangs out in the fairway, we're getting rid of it. We love beautiful fairways that, make you want to reach for your camera and take a photo, because that's really, if you're not reaching for your camera, then there's a missed opportunity. I think as a course designer, I think on every hole, you should be wanting to take a photo of something if you've done your work, So.
That's great. And that's an excellent observation about course design. And that's, just to backtrack about some of those courses you were talking about, Pickard, oh my God,
Beautiful.
that is one scenic course. Every hole is like you said, is like a photograph.
Yeah, there's frames and there's
just
things begging you to take a
I would
photo.
say wide open, not wide open, but very fair and doable lines, even in
Great mix of course.
even in the little technical area where you got that one little uphill shot and then out into the open and then big trees. Just it's fabulous design, man. So how much of that did you have? Did you get into? I've always attributed that to Juliana.
Yeah, well, that was Juliana got in there and designed the original. And then before Worlds in 2004, there was a need for a little bit of a redesign. Only because more land became available, it became apparent that the course could be expanded. So Justin McLuhan got involved, and he designed a fantastic back loop, that what you experience now when you head into that uphill 9 that you spoke of, and 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, that back loop. That's really, I think, what drove it into a lot of people put that in their top 10 course in the world, and it's in my top 5. I just love playing there, the challenge, the number of birdies that are available against that very difficult par 4 or 5 profile that you're thrown up against. You come out of there shooting over 60, and you're like, it wasn't such a bad round. Or you shoot in the 50s, like I did one year and shot a 50, and I'm not even sure if I can spell 50 these days. So
yeah. Hey man, for me, that created or helped to create one of the greatest moments I've ever had was shooting a 54 on that, and ended up on the card the next day on a Saturday with a gallery. I can't remember the name of the course. It's one of the lesser, in my opinion. I mean, all the courses in Des Moines are great, but with Climo and Felberg and Matty O And then all the great people that made all that stuff happen, all these old guys with their grandsons watching, that's what I remember in my mind, And so it was one of the greatest moments of my life. And it was because I played well at Pickard, and Pickard is a grinder course. You don't have to be the great putter. You just got to have a good mind and kind of grind it out, pick your
No, a good
spots.
mind. A lot of times people get distracted out there because of the open uh, heat, the wind, the hills, the difficult, challenging holes, and they forget that there's a lot of birdies out there. And that
Mhm.
when you just kind of you struggle through some of them harder holes and you pop into those birdie shots and your mind's not there and you let them slip away, and now all of a sudden that round got really, that number that could have been manageable in the beginning got out of control. Um, Anytime I've shot in the high 50s there, I'm just like, okay, keep your head, keep your head. This isn't a bad round. This isn't a bad round, and it never is. But it feels bad the entire time it's happening. Those 54s feel pretty routine, right? They don't. It doesn't feel
Mhm.
magical. Now you shoot a 50 out there, it feels magical. You shoot like
Yeah.
when Barry shot his 49, and you start seeing those kind of rounds, and think
Can
that's
you
even been
could you
beat
rate
since then.
that? What would that rating be like roughly of 50 out there? What would that be?
1050,
1060, 1050.
1060,
Yeah.
1050. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
those are good rounds
before we
though.
get
So I
into
think
the
KO maybe shot a 48.
nice.
I want to say he did. He kills it out there. So
Mm-hmm. KO. So Kevin Babbitt is watching, and he said something. And thanks for watching, Kevin. I appreciate it, man. Um, he may be one of these people that I tagged in Messenger. I was like, "Come on, let's go, let's do this." But Kevin said
speaking of
something.
my heroes,
Yeah, yeah, he is,
you're bringing
man.
my heroes on the show.
He
Good
speaking of grinding it out, man. He is a grinder, that dude, and a great putter, and just great mind. Um,
mind.
yeah,
He's
but
got a
but
great
he,
mind.
yeah, no doubt. But he said something after a Des Moines challenge, and um, I can't remember. I think he got second, which is somebody that throws 350 feet,
Hold
and
on, hold on. Let me correct you on some things here. You
yes,
said I've
please,
won a ton of Des Moines challenges.
yeah,
I actually left town before I ever won one, except as an AM. I won one as an AM. It was one of my
I saw
last
that.
big
Yeah,
tournaments.
I saw that one.
But I had to leave town and live in Oregon and then be on tour and not at home and then come back to town by the skin of my teeth, blowing tires in Wyoming and getting in at 3 a.m., showing up at the course like no sleep, driving a stupid RV around that's falling apart under my, and I somehow went out to Pickard, started there and shot. I don't even remember now, but it put me a couple of strokes up, and then I packed on and put a few more strokes, and I ended up winning an A tier by 9. That was my Des Moines challenge. That was my first
Yes,
one. So,
yeah, I saw that.
but
A little bit of
Kevin
a
though,
mop
Kevin though
mop.
is the one who's won
Kevin says, "Hey, by the way," he just
a bunch.
commented.
Hey, Kev. No, he's won a ton of Des Moines challenges. He was actually the guy when the Des Moines challenge, before it became an A tier, and as it was becoming an A tier even, but when it was a B tier and LaRon, Human was showing up and Kevin was showing up,
Mm,
they were the guys to beat.
mm.
Absolutely. Every year. We I don't know how many Kevin won. It was a
Well,
lot.
the
It feels
the
like a
year
lot.
that the year that I'm talking about was I don't know the exact year, but he said something that I've said over and over and over when I try to get people to go play that tournament. I'm like, he said, as a group of courses, this is the best tournament in the world. And I agree, because I mean there is nothing better than those courses, Grandview and Pickard and Ewing. Oh
Big
my
Creek,
God, big ass City Park Ewing. I mean, it's
Walnut
just like
Ridge.
a Walnut Ridge, yeah.
And
And,
then
and
you
so
start
Ewing,
throwing on some of those other courses up in Ames for Worlds. When we had Worlds, they started throwing in the stable course up at Worlds, which was a fantastic throw-in course. They built it within a couple of years. It was a great course. Iowa just is one of those lands that, you have a lot of over-maintained, underutilized land opportunity. It actually has some of the, I think per capita has the most traditional golf courses in the world, because of farms were incentivized to use their land for other purposes, buffer zones and different things. And so they have a lot of these pieces of property that are not viable anymore for what they were designed for originally. And so I see Iowa disc golf only getting bigger, better, and it's already fantastic golf because of those things I mentioned, but the opportunities abound, and it's just great land, great people, honestly.
well, and forward thinkers, because they were creating, the stuff that you see now on YouTube, like Ledgestone and stuff like that, that's Pickard, that's
Mm-hmm.
Ewing. That's all those great courses
Remember
that I
Graceland?
was. Oh, Grayson, that
Juliana
you won a
designed
lot of
Graceland.
those too. I've been studying you. You won a handful of those too. Yeah, I loved playing that JB Rolling Hills or whatever it was called, the private course. Was
Oh
it?
yeah, there's a
Is
new
that
one
what it's
in
called?
Tennessee, J&B Rolling Hills South.
Oh,
Aaron
really?
Dempton. Yeah, he's the kid that used to work out there and build that course. He moved to Tennessee and he started his
Okay.
own little private course. And
Yeah,
now
I tell.
J&B is gone, so we have to live vicariously through J&B South now.
Okay, good to know. I didn't know that it was gone. That was one of my favorite. We go out there, Mark Stiles and I, on a road trip, and we're like the old guys, and we make the lead
Yeah.
card
You
because
know what it reminds me of?
because of that Rolling Hills.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and
Because
then
they played both courses.
well, we played that one first, and we both killed it, and then so we're on the lead card. So the old guys roll into town and make the lead card, and then we, did what old guys do, and we fell asleep in the second round. And Kale LaVisca came back and beat me
Oh,
and knocked me out of cash. But the fun of being on lead card at an event like that is so great, man. And I noticed if you watching that montage of you on the intro of our show tonight, there's a picture of you throwing lefty, and a lot of people don't know, but Chris can throw lefty 400 feet, or back in the day 350 400 footers.
I think I could
And
still do it.
you think so? And
Yeah.
they would have this challenge for the CTP, and it would be an offhand challenge on a basket for an ace run or for the CTP, and everybody would boo, and Chris would get up there because they knew he could throw lefty, and I would just pop a roller down. Just I'm not gonna even try, but
But
as far
Dave,
as lefty
when you
lefty,
mentioned J&B Rolling Hills, though,
yeah,
does that remind you of Moody's Ranch a little without the hills?
yeah, it's rugged. It's
Has that kind of
rugged.
Moody's?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's more wooded
Oh yeah.
than Moody's
Oh yeah. No
and
bulls.
rougher
They don't
and
have a bull
rougher.
out there. So.
Yeah, you got cows. You got cows out at Moody's. There's a
Oh
lot of
yeah, Champ.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you played out there.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually I played a lot in Texas. Yeti and I were Yeti taught me to be a great player, and not on purpose. We were at San Saba World Doubles. I was working on this tomahawk, and I'm a lefty side. I'm working on this two finger, and he's looking at me, and he's going. And we're in the worst shot section on Strawberry Hills, or I think that's the name of the course.
Yes,
We're on the worst
Strawbell,
shot
my
section.
favorite. I
Yeah,
like
so
that.
we get over there and he's looking at me and he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah, I've been working on this in the wind, tailwind, and I throw it. And of course it just, we're like twice as far as we were. We're 100-foot low canopy upshot with an AVR, which is my bread and butter now. I can, or 150-foot upshot like that. And the look he gave me and the kind of steam that heat I felt, I went home and instead of jump putting from 100 and whatever feet I thought I can jump putt from, I just started throwing backhands from 30 and then 40 and 60 and 50, and I wouldn't stop until I could touch the basket with every backhand until I got out to jump putt range. It took me getting off of my strength to find my strength, because a lot of us rely on these crutches. Oh, I'm really good at this shot. Well, guess what? You're not good at that other shot you never practiced or never developed that you probably could be the best in the world at. And that was one of those things. So I went home, and actually after that, I went down and played Kansas City with Sam Ferrens, and I didn't throw an AVR that didn't land into the basket. And he's one of the best AVR throwers in the world. So that was it. I was still wearing a button-up collared shirt, no sponsor, and he comes up to me after the round. He goes, "I want you to be on Team Innova." And Sylvia Vokes had already, and Rick Vokes, and a few other people from the team had already kind of been like, "I think he's a pretty good guy for the team." So that was in 2003, and I thank Yeti to this day for that. Now I throw AVRs because as you mentioned, I'm ambidextrous. My lefty sidearm and my righty backhand are very I don't get a lot out of my lefty sidearm. I'm not a righty sidearm. I'm a lefty sidearm. So it all ends up the same. And, I only get to use it for getting out of trouble. Left to right shots have been my bread and butter. I had to learn it. And man, thank God Yeti almost stomped me into a.
I was just I sent him a message earlier in Messenger so he could know what's happening, that we're having the show. I wanted him to watch, and I accidentally sent him a little video of Dr. J, and because I shared the wrong thing with him, and he said, and you know what he said? He goes, I met Dr. J, and he actually told me how to be good at sports. Basically, he said that Dr. J told him, be a student of the game. And I think
Wow.
that's pretty intense. I had a thought that just went through my head when you were talking. When I was playing a not so good last weekend at a tournament and not cashing, and not, it's kind of pissed myself away on it. In my earphones, I heard this song about learning from failure, and I can't remember the exact words or who sang it, but you gotta really embrace failing, and be not afraid to just throw a weird shot. Like for me, mine is my forehand. I'll do it all the time, especially when Chris is around, because he likes to make fun of me. He calls it my unicorn shot, but you got to try it. You got to try everything. Back in the day, when we were playing way back in the day, 06, I think it was, or 7, at the Glass Blown, and you were playing down and you were in the dumps, and you came back from the car, and you said you all of a sudden your mood changed, that you got an invite to Marshall Street. Do you remember that?
06. That was 06.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't cash.
And then, yeah, you didn't, and I didn't either. But anyway, that down, and you were on my card. And that was before I was really kind of on the way up. I noticed our ratings. I was like a 960-ish around then. You were 1,000, I think, right at 1,000, something like that.
Yeah. No. At the time, that would have been in 06. I was actually 1,023 rated.
Yeah.
And was
so you were supposed to win
ranked
that.
8th in the world in the spring, around when I got second at the Memorial. I was already like 6 months on the road. I was 6 months on the road, and I got to the Glass Blown, and I was burned out. And I just was not feeling it. Glad that's a tough tournament to be burned out at. It's just the wind and that's just a grind. Mm-hmm. So did not handle all of that very well. Just kind of like toughed it out. But yeah, that was a long. I was already a long ways into my year, and to get the invite to MSTGC was just amazing.
Yeah. And so when you came back to the car and you were all excited, I told you, I was like, why don't you just go and win that one? And I think you did. Didn't you win the Marshall Street?
I did. I Barry Schultz shot 2 course records.
And you won. Yeah.
I was down 5 strokes with 14 to play.
Wow.
And then I was up 1 with 4 to play.
My dream tournament that I never got to play is Marshall Street. I had all the videos, and I had, with Jay and Dez on there, and, all those great players. And, that was just something that I never got to do. I had an invite at a time when it just wasn't right for me to be taking off and doing that.
But if you ever get a chance to play just Maple Hill, it's absolutely earned its spot in the top. I think it's number 1 in the world, or up there in the top 5, but it's absolutely a gem. And it's been in the family, I want to say, since 1796. I don't want to, maybe 92. I might be a little off on the numbers, but it's been in the family it's a historical site. It's amazing.
So on that last hole, was that where you won it? Is that where you took it down? The hole I'm talking about. It finishes off in that little kind of arena looking.
Yeah. No, actually, that was the tournament kind of took its turn on hole 14, the iconic hole with the lake on the right. And this is a good story. Okay. So the disc that I threw on the hole, Barry throws and he bounces OB. And I'm looking, and I don't want to go out of the water after watching him go OB. And I'm pretty sure he threw a wraith when they were a noose, so it kind of slipped on him a little, held out a little longer than he wanted. If we had destroyers, he probably had to put it under the basket. At the time, the wraith was the hot, overstable disc. I had a TL earlier in the week. I had thrown it at the dam course out there, and throw it, and it lands in the middle of the pond. And I'm like, wow, I really need that disc. I've really learned this disc. And I go, well, if it had the heart to float, I should have the heart to go get it, So, but I'm kind of like doing the math, and I don't want to go out there in my clothes. So I strip down, look around, strip down naked, swim out and get it. Everything's good. Right when I get back to shore, there's like a group of like 5 college kids come around the corner, their girlfriends. It was kind of awkward, but I did the math, and I did the right math, and I got that disc back, and nobody was harmed. I'm not on a list. So, it at the end of the day, though, that was the disc I end up throwing and parking the hole when he goes OB, and then a series, it's a 3-stroke swing, and all of a sudden, and that's why you're never out of it, right? You're never out of it. All the top players, they're there enough to know it, but a lot of guys that are coming up through the ranks, they need to keep telling themselves that, you might not win all the time, but you're never really out of it, and you have to be there at the end of the day when that guy slips up or things happen. The reason people win are because everybody has to complete the course, both rounds. They don't get to finish their round and then hole 18's a foregone conclusion. It's no, that hole could be a 6 for them. Actually, Des Moines, Iowa holds the record for the largest stroke swing. Buddy Joe Kloster and another friend, Sean Murphy. Sean's up 6 strokes going into the last hole. He pulls it out over the parking lot, leaves it OB. He can't get up and down. Joe parks a 385 uphill with a Viper, puts it under the basket. I don't know if he put it in the basket. He probably hit a huge putt. Who am I kidding? It's a long bomb. Nobody birdies this hole hardly ever. He gets it in the middle of the tournament, and Sean can't get up and down, just like completely, it's in his head now. He's like 3-putting, 4-putt. I don't even know what happened. I just know that it's a 7-stroke swing in a PDG event, and it's in the record book. So yeah.
Did you ever have a meltdown at USDGC? The classic, USDGC's known for that. I'm not talking about the tournament, just like a hole, maybe. Like I know my hole. I remember mine.
I took a 10 on hole 18 once.
On 18, wow. Okay.
Yeah. At the Memorial, though, I spent $900 on a hole. I was 1 out, 2 in, 3 out, 4 in, sitting 5 on the tee. Got that one in. So that's 6 in, 7 out, 8 in. I might be getting a little bit lost here, but it was an easy 9. Wow. If I took a 5, I would have won $900. So I played the hole for 2 hours straight on Tuesday after that in 2007, and I didn't take anything less than a 5. So now I roll it off the tee. But they changed that hole now.
At Worlds, they changed 18. Is that what you're saying?
No, this was hole 6. I want to say 16 or 16. Used to tee off of this up above on a path. Now they've brought it down into the field, and then it's right before the gunite hole where they shoot over the water.
Okay.
I was playing with Philo when he was no, I wasn't playing with Philo. I was playing with Avery that year. I was playing with Avery. He watched me go like sitting 5 on the tee and like sweating bullets. I'm like, I don't think I've ever been sitting 5 on the tee pad. It's like a record.
Yeah.
That happens though. I mean, that's why you just never take your eye off the ball.
I see it all the time in my division, so I think it's funny. We laugh. It's funny. It's all kinds of funny. Hey, I do want to ask you a question though, in more pertaining to our show, because a lot of what we're trying to do is make sure that the locals in this area are really propped up and kind of getting recognized. And I always try to ask people, especially people in your position, if they're looking to get sponsored. Obviously, there was a time before you were sponsored, and then a time that you got sponsored. Do you think it's different today than it was back when you were, or are there some similarities that you can give these kids a pathway that if this is what they're looking for and this is what they want to do, what is the best pathway for them to get sponsored by a company such as Innova?
Well, it's competitive, right, with the volume of players. The key, I think, and this has always been with Innova, is be a great person, right? Be a great person on and off the course. Be somebody that people want to approach. Be someone that represents the brand in a way that we represent the brand. So, and from Tim Selinsky to Sam Ferens, Dave Dunnepound, everybody is, you know, every time I go out south to Innova South, everybody out there is just warm and welcoming, you know, and it's always been that atmosphere all through. Vicky Weiscup meets you at the door out at Innova West and gives you a huge hug, you know, and Steve comes out of the warehouse, and, you know, all of these people and that energy that they've brought through all these years and their competitiveness on and off the course, you know, you just follow their lead. It's easy, really. And for these new players, you know, the social media presence, they have these opportunities that we didn't have. So it's a lot more challenging, I think, to keep yourself out of, you know, let's just say you got to put good energy out if you want to get good energy back. And if you're out there, you know, being divisive, it's going to be challenging to get sponsored. You
And
know,
there's some great energy out there.
tons.
Simon and Eagle and Paul and, you know, all those guys. I mean, just,
Yeah.
you know, Kale.
Well, we have them locally too, but my thought is,
Yeah.
it's like, how do these young men, and maybe a couple of them are older men as well, how do they go about it? Because I feel what you're saying, because I with Hemi and I think we would agree that's what we promote, and that's what we're about, is the positiveness not only of the sport, but just in how we are as human beings. But you know, putting that aside, what is another thing that these young men and ladies can do to really garner that attention besides just the wins? Obviously, like we just talked about, the media pressure. I mean, the ability to put themselves out there online is it's much greater than we ever seen before. And of course, don't back something terrible, but you know, is it the winning? Is it the who they talk to? They make a phone call? Is it, you know, a lot of people get second place and walk off the course and you never get to hear them. That's really what I've always said to him, is that we don't do enough recognition. We don't recognize the winning, you know, like I was football, basketball, baseball, track ran. Hell, in track, we gave 6 ribbons away when you ran a meet. But those 6 kids got to stand in front of everybody at that meet and be handed a dang ribbon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you knew which kids got it. So there's that accolades that come along with it. And I think a lot of times people think, oh, I got second or third in some big B tier, big A tier, but you never hear of it. There's no accolades towards it. So how does a company recognize and see that there's that mass talent where, man, this guy, we got a guy, Freddie Meza, who got third in the Rookie of the Year this year in PDGA.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do they get recognized?
Well, when the first thing I always tell anybody that reaches out to me, you know, I've worked with a lot of the young players that have been recently sponsored, you know, helping them write their email or just helping them get the right touch with the right people. Reaching out to Innova directly, letting them know who you are, letting them know what you're about, giving them an idea of who you are as a person through your first paragraph. You know, let them know what you're about. Second paragraph, tell them what you've done, you know, what your accolades are. Final paragraph, tell them what it is you look to do in the future and what your goals are. And that's, keep it short and simple and let them know. Get on the radar. Let them know that you're out there. I mean, that's the only thing you can do is get on the radar, right? Once they know you're there, then they're going to see, okay, well, what kind of social media presence do you have? That's a good kid. You know, she's doing great things out here. She's working with these kids. She's working with those kids. He's doing this. They see that and they pay attention to that. And that's why Innova has a huge ambassador team. It's not because they're sponsoring anybody they're sponsoring the right people. They're sponsoring the people that are what I like to call the change makers in the game. You know, the people that are actually getting kids involved, getting this involved, getting the leagues running these tournaments, that hard work that nobody appreciates. Those are the people that end up getting sponsored. Now, as a young athlete, it's more challenging. There's a lot of competition for that. Get on the radar, put your time in, you know, do some social media with your game. Tons of players do great social media. They're not the best players in the world, but their social media presence is amazing. They've got great things to add to the game. They're great for new players to watch. Those are things that sponsors are looking for these days, I think. Anybody can win tournaments.
Is there? I mean,
I say that. I say that. It depends what division you're in, right? You just got to get in the right division.
Depends on how good of a bagger you are.
Yeah, I mean,
But is there like at Innova, is there like a chief kind of vibe person who kind of knows and has their finger on who's got that good kind of a vibe, or that good energy, or that good, who is that person?
I
And
mean,
the
we
other
have
question.
Jonathan Poole, obviously, and Joe Rattan are two guys that Joe handles the ambassador team. He's fantastic, keeps us all on the same page, lets us know what the expectations are. Ambassador squad's fantastic. We get treated just like the athletes. Of
Hmm.
course, those performance bonuses are a lot harder to get, but they're
Hmm.
available, which is amazing. Like, oh, well, you're in the division and you can win the same thing that, Ricky can win. So um, it's fantastic. And yeah, I think, Jonathan Poole, he handles the athletes. Once you're over 1,000 rated, I think that's where they start to kind of, unfortunately nowadays, that's not really the bar anymore. I think 1,010 is starting to be that average where,
Hmm.
10 years ago when we were thinking like, okay, everybody over 1,000 is pretty much, well, now that there's guys that don't play tournaments that are over 1,000 rated, from their local
Hmm.
league.
Hmm. Lots of local leagues out there.
Yeah.
How
These
do you
young
think
kids,
that's
we have one
has
out
that
here. We have a
changed?
young kid out here. Just, I think he's on his way. John Montenegro, that kid right there. He pays attention to it. He's in high school. And he's
Mm-hmm.
already killing it. You
He's
know.
watching tonight. And another person,
Oh, is he? Hello, John.
John Maero was watching. Hey, John. He said that Yeti introduced you to him back in the day.
John and I go,
Great.
John actually gave me my eBay name. It gave me a nickname. We were at USDGC hole 17. I threw an AVR. It's beautiful. I thought I was going to ace. Goes right over the bales, OB. So then I pull out my whippet, which probably was a smarter play, and spike it in right into the back, like change circle 3 right away. Boom, off the course, get to 18, finish. So I don't know where it started. He started calling me Circle 3. Next thing you know, I have an eBay name, and I'm like, all this stuff's going on. And then he and I and Pepper Lang, we all went, down to Florida, the Players Cup, and went, I don't know if we snorkeled with the Mantis that year, but we were, ran a pontoon and everything with Craig Leva and Adam Goodman, all them. So we've been buddies for years now. And now I work I work in Illinois, but I work for Samsung out of Roanoke. So I'm down in Texas quite a bit, and they take me out on the town every time I'm down. So
Okay. All
oh
right.
yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, nice. Well,
I've
I
got
want
rocks from Zebos. I'm a big rock hound, so I probably go to the courses and look for rocks more than I play. So
John just typed in circle 3. So
oh yeah.
yeah,
And well, I know we need to get to the most important thing that we tend to always get with all the pro players, and I think it's the best segment that we have, and that's the secret of putting, and how you maintain it, and how sometimes you lose it only to try to maintain it again. What are your thoughts on probably the most important part of the game, and that is the putting aspect?
Um, so as we alluded to about me being ambidextrous, so I have a pitch and a spin putt. So I'm right-handed pitch, left-handed spin, and my hand ends up in the same place. So all the best putters in the world have that little finger pop at the end where they pop the disc into the window. But that's all nonsense at the end of the day, because there's so many ways to get that putter in the basket, as we've seen over the years. The key is when you're practicing, you got to build your confidence. Players walk up 30 feet and they start putting practice, and they miss a few and they make a few, or they make them all, but it doesn't build confidence. It may be some false sense of confidence. But what I like to do is start very close to the basket, and I make that first putt, and then I creep away, make the next one creep away, go collect them, start over maybe a little further away, and I'll continue the charade until I'm pushing my envelope out to 50 feet. And if I have 4 or 5 putters and I'm at a basket by myself, I can get that range out there to where I'm hitting these putts that are just insane, even for me, because I started on confidence alone, and I only moved on confidence. If I miss, I stay there. It's simple. I only move when I'm making, and I'm changing incrementally. So each putt feels very similar to the last because I'm moving very small steps backwards. Every putt feels the same all the way out to 60. And I repeat this, call it a charade, but it's really just, you have to go through this. Now, the problem with that exercise is that it builds a repetition. So you have to overcome that repetition. Then I have another drill I call it's like an anxiety drill. I take 2 putters and I throw them away from the basket at where I think I'm going to be 100%. And I always putt from the furthest one. And if I make it, it's fine. I can go with a trick putt or something weird with the second one. It's kind of a reward. But if I don't make the first one, I have to walk up calmly like a tournament, putt out, reset, and I'll even talk to my fake partner team card mates and ask them if I'm out, and I will build this dramatic anxiety in my heart and go back to that putt and reset, knowing that if I miss again, I'm gonna have to walk up there slowly and go through this whole thing again. And that gets me to focus. It really gets me to lock in. And I only throw that putter as far as I think I'm gonna make it 100% of the time. So it really is also a confidence drill because I'm building that gimme range. And now I've done the envelope drill to push my envelope and my confidence out. And now I've done this other drill to establish what I'm really some reality. And that's just what I've done over the years. And it worked for me, and it's worked for, I've heard other, Merle Whitblett out in California is one of the great teachers, and I've heard him use that drill too. And so I know I'm on the right track with it. It's worked for a lot of people. And you probably heard other similar versions of it.
Okay, explain it one more time. So you have 2 putters and you throw one like
Pitch them both
within
away.
30.
Yeah, just pitch them both away from the basket.
Out.
I'm standing at the basket, and I'll pitch them away from the basket. And then I'll go out, and whichever
and
one was the furthest away,
one.
I turn around, and it was the closest. I'll just pick it up on the way by, turn around, set myself up tournament mode, go through my routine, make it. A lot of times when you're practicing, you're not practicing your routine. And what happens in the tournament is that routine, all that stuff's out the window, all that routine and that repetition goes away.
That's what I was talking to Chris about today, is that what I've been practicing, getting ready for this Moffitt tournament, which is basically a putting contest, is that the very thing that you're saying is getting in the moment, practicing the moment, and instead of just the putt, the repetition, and somehow set yourself into that moment, relax into it, because when you relax and you take a breath, that's when it goes in, usually when you're calm, when you've calmed yourself. But that's a good game.
Yeah.
Thanks for that tip.
There's different types of
one
practice.
Of them, have you played the two in a row or don't go? There's a guy named Johnny Sias.
The rock putter, Johnny.
Back in the messenger days, the message board days, I picked up that game, and I played it all the time after that. And it's a good game. It makes you, like you said, you start incrementally, you start in close, 10 feet, actually 10 feet, starts at 10. And I tell people they're always, you got to make those 20 footers. I'm like, no, you got to make the 10 footers and then make the 12 footers and then the 14, but yeah,
all those little ones.
Yeah. But back in the day when you were playing down that one glass blown and you were on the card, and you were talking about switching to your left hand for pitch putt or for spin putts. And
no, I do. Everything 20 feet and in. The only problem with that, and I've realized, is that I kind of limit it to more of those 12, 15 touchy putts. Because when I start pushing that range out and I'm making 20, 25 footers left-handed and 30 footers left-handed, and I'm getting comfortable, and then finally I need to putt right-handed, I don't have any reps. So I found that I've actually found a good balance where the problem is that I'm yippy right-handed at the really touchy short range. My hand's really strong at 15 feet. It just gets away from me way too often to be comfortable as a pro. So I switched to left hand. I butter them in, they go smooth. It's a spin putt. It stays chain high. It never drops below. It never does anything. Once I get past 20 feet, now my pitch putt and that powerful putt starts to make more sense. And this is probably not the best thing, but Nico said I was more likely to make a 40 footer than a 20 footer because I've known him since he's 13. And it's probably no truer words have been spoken.
I feel that. But I get that sometimes. Yeah, I understand that.
A good, real quick, that's a good one too, is like you talked about what it takes to be a great putter. Nico, I've known, like I said, since he was 13. George Smith and I were on our way to the 2002 USGGC, and we were going through Logan Chiropractic College in St. Louis to do a putting clinic. And we went in, did the putting clinic, and I see this dread-headed 13-year-old, and he putted for 2 hours before the clinic and probably an hour until dark after. And he's never stopped being that kid. I mean, I've never known him not to be that kid. He has a tough round, a good round, doesn't matter. He's out there putting after the tournament. He puts in more work than anybody I know, and it's looks like he's starting to kind of get his head game together where he's not over practicing. He's starting to actually capitalize on a lot of it. Looks like he's having a good time out there. So
the thing that always bugged me about him is that his routine during the game was just so long. I mean, right at 30 seconds, and I know he doesn't practice like that. So I always thought that he would be better off if he shortened that into his practice mode. And
I think so.
I mean, but he's
it's
done
hard
fine,
to judge. It's hard to judge when somebody's been playing that long.
Oh man, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, he's killing it. He won a
whether they're killing it or not, it's just the reasoning and the psychology behind it. Just because you've played for 30 years doesn't mean that you're not in your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can actually get worse over time if or it can get better.
That was one of the things I marked down to ask you is like, does old age solidify the yips? Or does it can you still get out of it? Because
No,
I'm always battling the mental side of things on putting.
I don't know if I'm there yet. I'm kind of at that point where I miss with confidence. Like I miss like, wow. Like I said the other day, I'm playing 981 golf right now, or if I'm even that anymore. And it's like, oh, he's really good. Oh, oh, he's really, it's this like roller coaster where I don't know who's showing up. And we've often debated whether or not, being ambidextrous, if I have like two, we were talking this weekend, I can't remember another player. We're like, maybe we do have different people showing up to play one day to the next. Maybe you do have multiple personalities inside. Like if you're ambidextrous, who knows if that was the left-handed player that showed up that day that, to play, and you're trying to be a right-handed player. And
I think, there's a spiritual aspect to it. There may be something going on in the back of your mind going,
you gotta get centered.
You're going to miss it. You're gonna miss it. It's like, how do you turn those voices off?
That's always been a challenge with the left-right hand putting, right? That range where I start to cross over. What I did to fix that was that I took the range so far that I can do either or, right? I can make 30. If I get in a tournament, and Micah Dora has taught me this. If you're warming up in the morning and you have, like Micah does, he has many different styles of putting. He's one of the most versatile putters in the world. Nobody's probably ever heard of him. One of the best players you've never heard of, right? But he would just show up, and whatever was working in the morning was what he stuck with. That was his. That was what he stuck with, right? So if I'm playing a tournament and things are going south and it's not working, I'm not comfortable, I want to miss with confidence. So I switch to whatever's working. Even if it's just switching straddle, all of a sudden I'm Nate Sexton with a little tight straddle, or I'm going to be Nico with a deep dig, or I'm Climo with a bow in my knee out of the way, or sometimes you got to just mix it up. And if you're in the middle of the heat of the battle and things are going south and it's not turning around, sometimes you gotta like rock the boat a little.
Jim Davidson was asking you if you modeled your form on Ken Climo.
I got lucky. I missed out in 2000. I got shut out of KC Wide Open, and then somebody sent me a message, but I was too far from the course to make the tournament. I could have got in, but instead I just went and watched and followed Climo's group. And I realized that his follow through was magic, and his development of the shot was magic. He didn't have a lot of excess motion. That spoke to me. Volumes. I don't know that I deliberately mimicked his form, or if he and I are just very built similarly, because when I try to mimic his form, I don't do very good. But if I think about what he's doing, and just do that, then it turns out that I look a lot like him. But so if that makes sense, if I deliberately try, I could never figure out why his knee would bow out while he was putting. I realized he was just bending his legs. And then when I started to just develop that kind of, he's just using big muscle groups, and I started to kind of look a lot like him when I threw and when I played.
Are there any players out there that have that? I don't see that form anymore as much,
honestly, without the knee bend, Calvin Heimberg, he comes right in from center and pitches that disc up. It's very, if you look closely, there's a lot of things that he does that are similar to what Climo does when he's doing that little scoop pitch.
Yeah.
You know, he always had that little pop pitch from underneath, and it just came up so smooth. And Calvin does that. Calvin has such a tight putt.
The mystery slip.
Yeah.
When you take, there's this point in which the disc comes from here and he leads with that knuckle to where it turns from here.
Yeah.
And in between that turn, there's a slip. And that slip is the stabilization of that line of that.
Oh yeah.
Of that flight. And Climo was a genius at that. And so are you. When I played with you, it's the same kind of control of the disc. And you put it on this slow flight. And you just put it up in the air.
I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the other guy who, Jeff Homburg, Hall of Famer, who does the technical specs. I didn't realize who or what he was about while we were playing. I just knew he was shooting 11 downs at Grandview, and with more trees at Worlds, people were shooting 10 or a little better, you know, with double aces, you know. So he was shooting 11 downs back in '98, and I didn't realize how good he was. And he had this nose down putt with an arrow, and he was an Okie, you know, he played in the wind, and here he is throwing these arrows up, and they would spike up, spike down, and I just understood this air pressure that he was taking advantage of, and he was developing that air pressure on the disc, and it was stabilizing the flight, and I started putting that in my game, and I have a lot of trouble putting it in now. My old flip pop putt that would flip up and stabilize and then shoot in, that takes so much confidence. I have trouble doing it now. But
I call it the apex putt. It hits a ceiling.
Yep.
And it goes down.
Yeah, and there's that air on top. It lifts into it, stabilizes, drives in. It's the same principle.
It's so deflating when somebody's got that going and you're in the round and you're putting straight at it, and everything that they miss is like falling 5 feet from the basket.
Ricky
off 20 feet.
Ricky's putt. He pops it up just like that. Just reminds me of, I wish I could channel that again, but it reminds me of when I was feeling my putt would pop up, stabilize right out of my hand. When I'm putting my best, there's a matrix right out of my hand. I can tell you right away, right when it leaves my hand, if it's in or out, and I can put it in all the different windows that I can see in front of me at the different speeds. When I'm playing the best, it's like a little windows I can hit. When I'm not playing good, the basket looks far away. It looks like I'm just curious. It's mystery golf, you know. But there's like these two different things going on. I'm old enough now to recognize how well I played. So it's like, oh, I was pretty good. I really took that for granted.
Yeah. Now I was studying you this week, and you were really good. that Kansas City wide open tournament where you beat Climo tied, I can't
Timmy
remember.
Gill.
Timmy Gill. Another great
amazing, one of my other mentors,
Iowa player.
Minneapolis guy.
Minneapolis, that's right, right. Timmy Gill and the cart guy. He started what was that cart company? Timmy Gill.
That was the 2005 KC Wide Open. NT.
2005. Chris wins it by like 6 strokes or 9 strokes.
Six strokes.
Against Climo.
Climo gave me a bear hug when I won. He gave me the biggest hug. I thought I wasn't going to be able to catch my breath.
Those numbers, you were probably averaging 1040 plus for the tournament, maybe more than that. You had some incredible scores there.
I had just broken my little toe playing online poker. Chris, you've had that problem before, haven't you? Playing online poker, break your toe. I won this $30 table and got up pretty excited and left my toe on the side of a bookshelf, and 90-degree break. I actually have one of the Casey Martin wins, asterisks next to one of my wins. I had toe surgery and they put a pin in it, and I was on a walking boot and they okayed me to ride a bike, but I couldn't walk. So I just rode the bike around and jumped off my bike and threw, and I won a Pickard tournament. And I think Pickard and Ewing, or just Pickard, I don't know. It was big golf, and I ended up winning the tournament, and it's still under little controversy all these years later. But
kind Kind of like giving a
So
person a golf cart during a golf tournament.
Yeah.
You got to have a bike and ride through it. We had to have video. That'd be funny.
I shot a 51 at Walnut Ridge, or a 53. I can't remember, but it was either 3 down or 51 or something. But I had my walking boot on, and that actually taught me to. This was all before the KC White Open. I was throwing with that walking boot on. It was on my back foot, my push foot, and it was causing me to slow down and focus on kind of like playing on ice. I had to really slow my walk up down and focus on the hit point. It dialed me in. I went on a tear. That was my best year, probably next to 06, 05, 06. Yeah.
Incredible win. And there's Kevin Babbitt tied fourth with Feldberg. That's we were talking about him earlier. And by the way, he says 390 distance that he could throw. Still pushing those.
I always had him at 299, but
he's still pushing those. Hey, I thought I could throw far until I tried the distance thing at USDGC, and where they mark it where your disc hits, and I'm like, oh man.
I played with Coda Hatfield back when he was a kid, and that was like my first taste of, wow, this isn't getting any better. These kids are just going to get bigger and longer and throw far.
Coda's still at it.
No, you're seeing the young ones do it. It's amazing. I mean, we saw some 16-year-olds when we did our juniors match play. I'm talking to them as we're playing. I'm like, well, what are you averaging in your distance? They go, about 450. They're 16 years old. That's averaging. And not that they couldn't throw it further. That was just their average. I'm like, really? Really?
That's why it meant so much to me to win that tournament out at Marble Springs out there by Austin. A couple of years ago, I went and played that tournament at John Houck course out at the Vineyard, and I was playing and
Flat Creek.
Yeah, Marshall Banks and Flat Creek.
Flat Creek. I love that.
These guys. Who's the guy that was the UT coach? Mike, the swim coach. Mike starts with an L. Lights. Anyway, these guys. I'm playing with them. They're throwing 500. And they're just casually throwing 500, these Texas guys. I don't know what changes the Texas throwers. I don't know what the air does. I don't know if it's just all this big open courses.
Oh, we got some wooded ones too. We got some wooded courses down the Houston area, that's for sure. Come down here, we got some tight ones.
I like Zebo's. That's got some woods.
Zebo's was my home course for a while. I love that course. The thing that separates, though, you guys from Texas boys, especially down here in South Texas, is you guys can handle the weather and wind and elements and the cold and, all that stuff. We don't have that down here. We got some rain and that's about it. And
when that weather hits, when that wind starts and the rain starts and all of that, I get excited. The more people complain, I've learned this a long time ago, and now it's not as easy because I'm a little older and I hit those walls a little. But when I was young and healthy and, as long as you're physically there as a player, when that weather hits, the only thing you can do is mentally lose it. You have to power through it. If it's cold out, I pull a little bit of my collar up and I focus on that hot air coming out of my collar. If I'm playing winter golf, I throw a hot hand in a sock and I throw it down the middle of my back and I move it up and down the whole round. My spine stays warm. I have all these tricks that I do over the years, but the key is not letting yourself get out of it mentally, finding that way. I kept a t-shirt in my bag at the MSDGC in 2006. It was in a Ziploc bag. I knew there was going to be a backup on hole 6. We got torrential rain. The temperature dropped. We got a nor'easter. It was like 20-degree top drop in temperature. It was middle of August, so it's 56 degrees, raining, downpour. I pulled that shirt out on hole 6 at that 20-minute backup, swapped out that undershirt, t-shirt, and it was like a warm blanket. Everybody else, man, they were like wet dogs. Every one of them. If you watch that video, they're like hitting trees. You could just see the energy leaving people right and left. And I knew it was there for me. I knew it was waiting for me. I knew that I could lose my energy anytime, right? It's easier to give up than it is to power through. And then that's all you have to do is let that doubt creep in. And let that doubt and let that negativity.
My first big win. I said big wind. My first big win. The wind actually woke me up at 4 a.m. For a tournament out in Emporia at Monkey Island, and
Oh,
it
I
was
love
just
that
a
place.
little C tier, But that was I was playing in Masters, and I ended up beating Eric and those guys, all those guys, George by 3, and I was like, wow, they tied, and I ended up winning by 3 against those guys, but it almost blew the house over. That woke me up. I mean, there was it gets windy out there in the Midwest. I mean, it's
Can I ask you, as a lefty, are you getting that hole out there along the river at Monkey Island?
I did
At
that
5,
day.
you did?
Yeah.
That's a
We
bomb.
had
That's
just the
5.
right
That's
wind.
well, it's
Well,
probably only 4 something, but it plays.
450 probably.
Yeah, but it plays all of 500 with the way that you have to get out around
But
those trees. And
but honestly, I'm just trying to get into a good position for a good upshot and get the 3, somehow get the 3. But I think I did get it that day.
I
I was
bet you
putting
did.
Bulldog in the 40-mile-an-hour wind. My best rated round ever was in a 40-mile-an-hour wind with a Bulldog. So it can happen. But like you said, I back then I would shy away from wind tournaments, and I would watch the wind forecast because I'm from Texas and I'm not used to it. The first time I saw Ron Converse, I was like, yeah, man, I'm never going to be able to play like that. I thought.
I
I
don't
saw
know
him.
if I ever will be able to play that good.
Well, I'm pretty sure I
Conversing.
won't, but yeah, I saw him. I saw
I mean,
this.
when I get to be his age, if I'm half as good as Ron, it'll be an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. Well, luckily we won't ever get to be his age. He'll keep aging, but he'll keep kicking butt though. His I call him the new normal. That's my new
Yeah.
name for Ron, because he's changed the way we perceive old guys. I mean, and he's always been a hero of mine.
Well,
Always
I'm
will
old,
be.
Dave. When This is how old I am. Remember?
Flippy,
I have
nice. Is that
flip
you?
books.
Is that you in there?
Yeah.
Did you draw those yourself, like a little pencil
No,
drawing,
this is
like when you were
from.
kids, a stick figure?
It's actually very good quality. He did a good job. Blake Tackinen back in the day did these for Disc Golf Course Review, and they're the throw books, The Art of Throwing.
That's cool.
And he gave out these flip books. He spent a lot of time, but we didn't have cell phones, so
Right.
No,
this was
that's
actually a
your
video on demand.
Well, that's the nice thing about him in the show here. He always gets to walk us through what it was like to throw, rocks at trees, and then how he progressed to like pieces of wood that were rounded, and he could throw them at something. It's just nice when he really takes us back, to when he was a
Well,
child.
let me take you back then. With this is the first frisbee game I played, and this is why I was good at frisbee. My brothers were 3.5, 6 years older than me, and my cousins, all of them, they were all older than me, and they used to dominate me. They were boxers, wrestlers, tough guys. But when it came to throwing a frisbee, that's the grand equalizer, right? There's nothing separates us now. And we played a game, we called it Tron. Everybody had their frisbee, and we'd stand with our backs to each other, and we'd throw them away, and we'd run out and get them and turn around, and it was tag now. But if you threw it and you caught it, they had to freeze. And if you threw it and you hit them in the head or the body, they were out. If you hit them in the arm, they couldn't use that arm. If you hit them in the leg, they had to hop. And man, let me just say, I had a lot of headshots for a little kid, and it was the grand payback to be able to right in the mouth to your brother with a frisbee from 30 feet. Like, wow, yes. So
Were you the baby?
that game's still viable today. Another Texas story. I was down with Dave Nesbitt down in Houston when they were throwing the guts discs at each other with Robbie Bratton, and he was trying to set that world record for speed catch. And let me tell you about getting out of the way of a fast disc. I would not play Tron with him or Dave.
No.
Nuh-uh.
Those guys don't mess around.
I saw Robbie one time catch a disc that flew from 450 feet after doing a flip in midair, and he caught it on the
Yeah.
flip. That guy was
Yeah.
a freak of nature. Whatever happened to Robbie?
I haven't seen him in a while. I think he did some modeling. He had his clothing line for a while.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
I've seen him do a gainer off the dock run. Yeah, he's insane.
Yeah, great athlete.
Speaking of guys that could throw far.
Yeah. the original bombers.
Yeah.
Well, what was your of all your days of disc golf? What's your favorite memory in disc golf? What's your favorite maybe win? Was it with the Kansas City Wide Open? What was
You
it?
know, I go back and forth, with that type of question where I look at Kansas City, that 6-stroke NT win. Can't take that away. Mixed double world championship was a major, I guess, on my record, but it's that's a special win. That's something you can't take away. And then the Marshall Street, the MSDGC in 2006, winning by 1 after being down 5 and holding a 1-stroke lead for 4 holes and collapsing on the last hole. That's clearly one of the most emotional wins that I've ever had. And then it's a 2 DVD set. So my son, he's just now starting to play, and he's, when he's watching it and like, wow, that's really, he's starting to see how it's cool, and it's, so I get to share that with him. So that's real special. But I think the
Can
one
we
that
buy
stands
that
out,
somewhere? Can we
I
buy that?
think, I think Gateway Media is doing some retro. They just
Beta
put out the
tapes like
2006.
VCR.
Yeah, they did the birdie skins from the 2006. They did a bunch of the '05. So I think they're putting some stuff out. I actually helped
Okay.
get some of the content to them with Mitch Sonder fans. So um,
Yeah.
but the one that stands out, though, the win that I just, my dad always said, I wanted to be a professional skateboarder, and I was in karate, I had fast hands and everything, and I wanted to do all these things. And he was like, when it came to skateboarding, he was shaking his head going, you can't compete with the guys that do it year round. You can't. You can't compete with the guys in California and Texas and Florida where they can do it year round. You're just not going to do it. And I was traveling with KJ Naibo in 2007, and he went out and stayed. And I had a brother uh, living in LA, and so I went out and stayed with him, with KJ, and my dad flew in and caddied for me, and we played the B tier. It's actually one of the only times I beat Paul Macbeth, but he was playing advanced, so it didn't count. But so I ended up, my dad caddied for me, and I ended up winning this B tier, the Plastic Pilots Open, by 5 strokes over Steve Rico and 11 strokes over third. So, I mean, it was just not even, it was one of my biggest blowout wins, and Stevie was playing good. I mean, it wasn't like I caught Stevie on a bad day. It was, we were stomping the field, and my dad's on my bag. And I just remember getting very like emotional, like everything kind of slowed down for a minute. And I realized the significance of having my father here in Los Angeles, of all places, to caddy for me at this really big win, this really, at El Dorado, this classic historic course. And yeah, I mean, I sometimes think that's the one, just
Mm-hmm.
having my father there. I mean, that really, yeah, I mean, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Well, just a couple of people chiming in. Jim Davison was saying that Robbie Bratton welcoming his first son,
Oh,
second,
that's awesome. And
2
his
in
sister had a
October.
baby too. So.
Yeah, and then our local junior John Montenegro wants to know what's your favorite discs? 2 or 3 different molds. What are your favorite? What do you
Well,
like to throw?
I'm all over. I've been throwing these big bead AVRs for a long time. I don't care if they're puddle top. I really like these. I like throwing the big bead AVRs. I like the bead. I like the stability. Like I said, I'm not a sidearm guy, so I have a lot of left to right game. And when you can put a putter in my hand, I'm going to score well on the course. If we're playing course that's under 300 feet and it's putter game all day, I'm probably going to be shooting over 1,000 rated golf. You put me on those bigger courses, I might lose a little, start slipping around. But the molds I really love, I've always been a 10-time Whippet X guy. That's just been a bread and butter staple, whip spiking shots into the basket. In Iowa, we had thick grass. I'm not sure how my game would have adapted if I lived in Texas, but in thick grass, you can just spike it right on the heart of the, if you're on goal, you're on goal. You're not going to worry about getting them too far off the green. Those are really grippy greens. And destroyers. I mean, I don't know. I think Destroyer is just one of the most fantastic discs made. I mean, there's so many different stabilities that you can find in that disc, and all of them, I just find so much versatility in that disc. So.
So you were never a rock thrower?
Oh, he asked me 2 or 3. So I'm a huge rock thrower.
Yeah.
And but that's just, everybody mentions the rock. At the end of the day, if it came down to a rock or a big beat AVR, I could get by without my rock.
Mhm.
with that big bead AVR. And I'd force a lot of shots that I don't need to, and I'd lose a lot of distance in certain situations. But by and large, I'm probably, if I'm going to play around, I'm going to go out with that big bead AVR. If I had 3 discs to complete a round, I'm probably taking a big bead AVR, a T-bird, and a destroyer.
You ever
But I'm
throw
just
any of
known for the
those?
whippet.
Ever throw any of those faster ones? Our local badass Freddie Meza says katana guys.
I know those katanas fly far. I've had a lot of big flights with a katana, eh, errant flights too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really, I like the turn for control long, like just control turnovers. I like that champ strike for power, but I just, it really is a rare situation where I'm going to take that risk and
Mhm.
get any more distance. And I can honestly, if I get a really overstable destroyer, I'm more inclined to overpower into it and get more distance than I am when I'm trying to touch up a less stable or a faster disc. If I just smash on a destroyer, I do plenty good distance wise.
Are you throwing a
But I'm not
light?
trying to
Are
throw
you throwing a
distance.
lightweighted or are you throwing a heavyweighted? What do you like? You like the 175s or you like the 150s?
I throw 175, but I've also played in Japan where I have a 170 or a 150 Eagle that flies fantastic. I can throw. My son has it in his bag. I'll pull it out once in a while and throw it. So really, I probably would do good to try different weights. I usually don't go below 170 though. I think back when we started playing, Dave, in the DX days, there was a little bit of stigma to lighter plastic, and over the years that held on. I think unnecessarily, where lighter plastic got a bad rep over, just because in the DX days, I think that it was just a little more difficult to find an overstable disc in a lighter weight.
Mhm.
So
Well,
now
Freddie, who
though,
just chimed in, he's a lighter thrower, one of those katanas. I asked him what he was throwing. He's throwing 159s, and that kid can bomb. He's the guy who got third in
yeah,
Rookie of the Year in PDGA. I mean, he can freaking get it. And I thought he'd be throwing something heavy, and he's not. He's throwing something really light.
oh, I've
Yeah,
thrown those Blizzard bosses pretty far too. Yeah,
I'll say that name again, Freddie Meza. He was third
Yes,
in Rookie of the Year this year, and this is
Freddie
one of those
Meza.
guys that you want to keep an eye on because he's one of those good guys you were talking about as well.
good deal.
Nicest human being, so
Yeah,
polite, so nice.
yeah,
Very
and
nice young
great player,
gentleman.
great putter.
The final question I have for you before we go is if you have a Mount Rushmore of 4, but you got to put them all in order. And I'm not talking about your favorite people that you like to play with. I'm talking about dead killers. Like when they talk about basketball, they're talking about Michael Jordan, Larry Bird. They're talking about the killers. I didn't like them, but I respected their game. Who's your top 4?
Players, Climo.
Number 1 over Macbeth.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I think you have to. I think yeah, he earned it. He has it. He has the statue. I mean, he's earned it. I mean, Paul's earned it. Clearly, I'd give Paul number 2 on there. I'm gonna throw Ricky right in there, right behind Paul. And man, that 4th one, that's a tough one, isn't it?
Mm.
Um, man, straight. You
Fill
know
in the
what?
blank.
You said I can't just pick somebody because they're my favorite, though, huh?
No, I said I want to be your friend. I had the best round with them. They're nice guys. There's tons of those out there. I'm just talking about, that dead killer where you're like going, it's Sunday. He's leading. Oh no.
I'm gonna have to throw Eagle in there. I was trying to decide between Eagle and Simon.
Yeah.
I just think Eagle he's a veteran. This kid's not new to the game. So when I look at Eagle, I don't see a young kid who's just an up and comer. I see a veteran, and I see the same in Simon. But at the end of the day, Simon is gonna be fun and amazing, exciting, entertaining, and Eagle's just a killer when it comes down to game day. So. Yeah, I think he edges him only but barely.
I know you didn't. You picked 3 kids and 1 old guy. Only 1 old guy, huh? There's nobody else in the old age bracket.
The problem is that these the young guys, they're young, 30. They're doing the things that we were doing and some. At the end of the day, Climo has done amazing things, just phenomenal
Before everybody
things
else.
before anybody was even knew that a Cobra could fly 450, 500. He was just doing things and shaping shots and he has a killer instinct. He can make a game out of 2 toothpicks and a pickle. I mean, you give that guy a little bit of time in a room with nothing to do, and he won't be bored. And I'm cut from the same cloth. I mean, he and I can enjoy nothingness. Like he's just a fun human being, and he's a competitor, and he wants to win. Pickles. I don't care what I don't even know how to play. He'll make up the game. It'll make sense by the end of it. And yeah, so he definitely has earned his way up there. But the young guys, man, they're just throwing so far, and they're making monster putts. If we can get rid of some of the excess motion, some of them have excess motion. That can go away, right? You start cleaning up those little things in their game, and you start like Paul's already 1060. I mean, what do you clean up, right? It's very, it's just fantastic. I mean, we're at a point in the game where you're going to have 10, 15 guys that are going to be 1040 rated.
Man.
This
I
is
think
coming.
with Paul, it's just he's just battling himself. He's battling his own, whatever demons he might have when you're on top like that. I can't imagine what that would be like. I can't. But he seems to be doing pretty well at it.
Yeah, he seems to be real good at it.
He's picked it up pretty
Maybe
quick.
he should
Yeah.
switch companies.
Yeah, when I said Climo and I are cut from the
another.
same cloth, mine's the gamer cloth, that making a game out of pickles and toothpicks. Paul and Ken are in this category of people that they know more how to win than to lose. They know more about staying out of their own way than getting in their way. They have the toolbox to fix things as they're going wrong during the round. They know how long to invest energy into something. Paul doesn't invest much energy into things. Like it's very rare to see him take it more than a half hole of negative energy with him. He sheds that stuff.
I watched that interview, the CBS Sports interview, and I got to give props to the interviewer. I don't know his name, but he knew the sport, and obviously born and raised in the California golf, and he knew the history of Macbeth and all that. And he asked him, how does he continue to be such a great putter? I mean, what's the key to great putting? And Paul just said, essentially breathing. And it kind of blew my mind. He's
Jeff
like,
Homburg used to say that.
you just got to learn how to relax and breathe into it. And I was like, whoa, thank you.
Well, and the other thing is, if you watch Paul's game, he simplifies it. There's not a lot of excess motion in his putt. He is very calm, starts from a very calm base, and his window that he's hitting is right out of his hand. Like he's not looking. I can't imagine how far out of his hand. He knows exactly where to put his hand in every situation, right? And he's worked through all these little, it's like Nico. Nico can put that disc in tiny little windows. Paul's one of those. There's very few people that just can see the way he showed up at Camden too. Shows up at the course. He's doing his warm up round, and he plays the par 4 downhill. It's like 660. And gets down there and just hits an 80 footer. Right out of the box, just 80-foot putt, nothing. Like his range and misses. He misses at that range. I used to, when I was at top of my game, I thought I was going to draw metal from 50 feet. I think he's at that 100. He thinks he's drawing metal from 80 feet, and he's running putts that I don't know that many people would. Besides Ricky and maybe a couple others.
Alex Hughes chimed in. He's asking if you had any nagging old guy pain, elbow or joint pain or anything like that. How's your health these days?
It's weird. I've had sciatica, right, for my entire career of disc golf, and somehow I got rid of it. And I took a meloxicam. I'm not really big on taking medications, but I will say I took meloxicam during my physical therapy, and she did some just mild massage. Amazing work, stretching, got my sciatica went away temporarily. I had to kind of come back for a little bit. I had an episode a few months ago where I passed out from, have you ever passed out from back pain? Actually, my sciatica flared up.
No.
I stood up, I started going to shock where I felt like I was like gonna sweat. So I took off my sweater, and my girlfriend's son there is sitting there, and next thing you know, he's upset, I'm giggling, and apparently I'd fallen and hit my face on the door and collapsed from whatever. So that was a little scary, but it went away again, and I'm back to no sciatica. So I don't know if the physical therapy or the meloxicam, but if you're struggling with sciatica and it's nagging, it's not going away, I'd definitely get into the physical therapy and get somebody who knows what they're doing to look at it, because I think I was trying to self-treat and I was just inflaming it. I was like, oh, let me pop it, let me crack it, let me do this, and I was just causing more and more inflammation, thinking it was getting that temporary relief, and I was just exasperating the problem. Once I quit doing that and trusted the doctors, things have been pretty good.
Yeah, I always like to ask, where's your medical degree from? Where'd you get that medical degree from? Oh, yeah, right. You failed the test too, right? Right. That's what my wife likes to tell me all the time. She keeps me alive that way. So
you
I need smarter people than I, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
You talked about Camden too. Is that the course you created?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. And I saw a message when we were doing some research on you, as Duden was saying, tell them about the time when the tornado blew it away, or something blew it away 9 days after you opened it.
Well, we just
Tell
suffered
me that
through it.
story.
A derecho is 100-mile-an-hour inland windstorm, straight line wind. So it has the effect of a tornado, but it's widespread over many miles. And ours was actually a 700-mile storm that came through, and we had 100-mile-an-hour winds a while back. And but when we opened Camden 2 originally, we built the course for 2009 Women's National Championships, and we worked from November of 2007. I worked, was working 8 hours a day, just all straight through, all the way till July, trying to get the course ready. And we finally had our grand opening. Our Paul Rosner went and got a Fat Tire keg back when Fat Tire was the hot beer, and we went ahead and had some, had a great day. Our volunteer party, we had, like 200 volunteers. So all this great day, and then the next morning, this derecho comes through, and we wake up and 100 trees are knocked down, like giant mature oaks, and 7 or 8 fairways are unplayable. It was like somebody hit the reset button. We just high-fived, and they're like, nope. So, yeah, we started over. It ended up being a blessing in disguise. We started cutting up all the oaks, getting rid of it. We got the fairways back. They let us burn out there. So we've estimated about 10,000 fires over the course of building the course. But we were able to burn and get rid of things. And the course is clean as a result of the fires. The other thing about the course is that the crew has a green light to clean anything that grows out into the fairways, as I was saying. So if you have geometry and the fairway's shaped a certain way and there's trees that go over, as things start to grow out into the fairway, we're trimming that. We're getting rid of it. We're pulse on it. We're getting anything that's going to ruin a good shot. We also take, it's a par 64, 60-acre wooded course with grass fairways. So that's the blessing in disguise. We got extra sunlight in when those oaks came down. Get a little extra. But
made it more Iowa-like.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So
I think that's the magical part of it. Yeah, it's in Illinois, right on the border.
Okay.
Yep.
Is this a course that's close to you, or do you play it regularly?
15 minutes away. Yeah.
Okay.
We play it in the winter because it's nice and sheltered from the wind, and it can get a little warm in the summer because it doesn't get that wind, right? But it's not too bad. But yeah, it's a par 64 with fairways, and as a result, you have, it's just very strange to be in the woods when there's not just dirt and dust, and you're kicking up mud and everything, and then the crew, we've had, I think for about 8 years, we averaged 5 volunteers every Monday. So the key to our success was having work days every week, whether we just went out and burned a little bit or cleaned up a hole, or if 2 or 3 people show up, it didn't matter. But we were averaging 5 people every Monday night, and we were averaging 100 work days a year over 10 years. So we keep a work log, and then if anybody shows up, they just want to throw things on the fire and hang out and drink beer, or have a hot dog and a burger with us, we put them down for moral support. So everybody goes on the work log, dogs included. So if the dogs show up, they get their name on the work log. So, and we can go and show the city, look, hey, this is what we've done, if they ever wonder what we're doing or they have any questions. So
Well, it's amazing. I've been a part of a crew that cleaned up one tree, and it took all day. I can't imagine a big, 64 acre spot of
Yeah,
land like
I've
that.
logged 6,000 hours over these years, roughly in that ballpark. And like I say, I got a desk job in Calluses, but and you go through those little burnout phases where you don't want to do it anymore. You kind of feel like it's a thankless job. And then somebody will breathe some wind into your sails. You get back out there, get it. And then, I've probably gone through that phase like 4 times of burnout. And as you've talked about earlier, we, working on courses is a thankless job but if you go out and work on the course, you feel this ownership over it. You start to like, oh, people start picking up a little more trash. They see less trash. They produce less trash, right? Uh, so if you go to Camden Park, you won't find trash on the course. On our other park, which is a little more, recreation friendly, we get a little more trash problems. But even the local players that it's contagious. The people that play over on the other course that keep it clean, they go over and they go to new courses, they start to keep them clean. So the less trash you see, the less trash gets produced. It's challenging, but I guess the point is that you breed success with people through habits and by being consistent and just keeping it fun, not making it about like work, making like especially for the work days, making it about, hey, just show up, let's do something, whatever. What do you have in mind? Let's get a list of things that we need to do and then let some things rise to the top. Like we got 100 things we want to do, but some of these will rise up to the top. And our crew is crazy. Every year we have this like all day cook day, and one of the years they took a giant fallen oak and cut it into 10-foot sections, dug 4-foot deep holes and pulled them all up in with come-alongs into a wall. So they're 4 feet in the ground, 6 feet in the air, and there's a wall of oaks. And it's a 225-foot hole, so you have to throw over the top of the wall with a stall shot, AVR. That's what I play, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it's we're Camden too. It's on the face. We have a Facebook page, so if you're ever in
Do you
and
know
around the Quad
Anthony
Cities area.
Anthony Furnace? Is that how you say
Oh
it?
yeah,
He
oh
says
yeah,
C2 is such a beautiful course, a must play. Sounds like a road trip, Chris.
We
oh
got to
yeah.
go.
We're always talking
I'm
about
ready to
road
go.
trips when this COVID thing's over. Maybe if it's still going on, we don't know. We might just
Anthony Furnace is one of those like-minded souls like us, Dave. That he
okay.
puts more good energy into the world, and he is one of those positive forces in disc golf. Always running tournaments, promoting the sport, getting the new players involved, taking photos,
Good.
tons of photos.
Well, appreciate you watching, Anthony. Thanks for chiming in too and helping us out tonight. I guess I want to leave with one story real quick, and then we're going to let you thank your sponsors and say whatever you want, whatever you feel like saying. We'd love to have you back though, because I feel like I could talk for days, and we'd love to have you come back again and talk to us. But
You may have
I just
heard I
wanted
have
to,
stories.
yeah, I know you guys. I've got a story, and this is my Chris Sprague story. I've told this before. Um, we're playing. Well, first of all, let me backtrack. What's your opinion of Blue Valley, Kansas
Big.
City's
Oh, is that an
monster
opinion?
course?
I love Blue Valley.
That
It's
big,
big.
you love it. Okay. So,
I do
because
love it.
Tank surprised, we talked to Tank and we asked him, and he said it was gimmicky, and I was like, it hurt me. I was like, this is my course that I think there are 11 signature holes on. That it's a course that I would love to play again in its original setting, and I know they've changed it, and it's
Yeah.
not the same as it used to be. But when Avery won his world title there, that was just an unbelievable course to me. So I just wanted to get your opinion of what you thought of that as a golf course, as a disc golf course.
I think it's a great disc golf course. I think Tank's probably referring to that time when they that par five. This is a notorious story where I played the fairway as it was designed, and everybody went to the right and played up through
Okay.
hole 10.
Okay, this is my story. I was on that card. Okay, let me set the scene,
So
Chris,
this
for
is
you.
it. So this is it. Okay.
This is the story. Yeah, this whole nine, or no, I think it was whole nine. I think it was whole nine. But yeah, notorious par five that people that came from out of town discovered a cheater route, and the cheater route was across another fairway, and it was over a fairway, and it would make for a pretty easy four and maybe a three, so you could turn it into an eagle hole really quick. But there was no Mando, so we're sitting there debating it, and Chris did not debate it at all. He took the pure and correct route of playing it as it should be played. And he was even preaching it to us who were all cheaters. And we all three took a 4, and I think maybe
You
Tank
guys all
took
forward it and I 5'd it.
I think Tank may have 3'd it. We all 4'd it, you 5'd it, playing it pure. But
Well,
when I go to describe um, Chris Sprague, that's how I do it. And what that is, it's just integrity. Integrity is a thing that happens when nobody's looking, and or when there's no, nothing to gain from it other than we're sitting here now 20 years later, and we're talking about how cool that was, how cool that was, and how I teach my kids with that kind of lesson. And it's something you taught me, and I've recently, I've had the opportunity, or not the opportunity, the situation to where I could have cheated and nobody would have known. Something happened on my card where something kind of was fishy, and I figured it out. I figured it out after the fact. And so I called the TD and I was like, hey, just so you know, this stuff happened. But it was through learning from people like yourself, Chris, who have integrity, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And I appreciate it, man. I really
thank
think.
you. That story reminds me of a time when I talked to Scotty Innes, who's got over 800 tournaments in Iowa. He's a Hall of Famer. Scott, one day I came up to Scotty and I started lamenting that I was out of bounds on the white. I went down out of bounds on 9. And he was like, "White or the blue line?" I was like, "The white line." He was like, "Oh, that wasn't OB." the blue line was OB, and I was like, "Oh, well, I guess it was 2-stroke penalty then." I was like, it's because I turned my score in already, so I had to go turn myself in. I'd already turned my score in. Nobody would have known the difference, but I came to realize that I had thrown OB, or I had not thrown OB, but I played it as OB. Therefore, I misplayed the hole, and I scored the hole wrong, and I ended
You
up with
got
a
2 strokes
2-stroke.
plus the penalty.
No, the penalty, I didn't get assessed the OB because I was technically not OB.
Okay.
But I did get assessed 2-stroke for misplaying the hole. But just
Well,
teaches you not to lament your
just
bad
say,
holes.
as an older guy, and to any of you young guys out there who might be listening, do the right thing, because one day you're going to be 20 years older and you're going to go, damn, I wish I would have done the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that I'm always out here doing the perfect thing, but sometime you're going to be facing a situation where you can cheat and nobody's going to know.
Mm-hmm.
But you will know.
And like I told you, David, in this venture that we've had now, and as many times as I've filmed people and their shots, it's amazing what you see and what you see people call.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, typically there wouldn't be video out there because we try to cover everybody, rec, intermediate, advanced, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And you see how people play it, and it's quite recognizing when you see other people and how they will and will not approach it. You shake your head, because I'm not a TD at that time. I'm just there filming, so I can't say a word, right?
Well,
I'm not playing, but I know, because I'm a licensed TD, I know that's not right.
Yeah.
It's not for me to say, that's for the card to say, and that's for the other people that saw it. So
let me say that I'm not on a mission either. I'm not trying to police everybody into doing what's right. I'm just saying
yes,
that
you are.
if you don't do what's right, you're going to regret it 20 years from now. And
maybe
maybe
eat
even
you up
before
inside,
that.
Yeah. That's what I've always told you. What good does it do? Because I can tell you this, and Dave did tell me exactly what happened. He couldn't stand it, and we're kind of two the same people in the same pot. I mean, internally, I can't take that. It just eats me up. If I've known I've done something wrong, it doesn't sit well. I can't dream. I can't sleep. It's not good. So David says it right. It'll get you 20 years later. You'll still remember it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was my story. It was whole 9. And when I threw
it's funny, I was going to that story too. It's like my only
right
bad memory. And it's not a bad memory now. You've turned it into a positive. I like it.
Yay, David.
Well, thanks for Chris.
I gotta get going.
It's been amazing. Appreciate you, all the stories, and hopefully we'll get to hear some more. Is there anybody you'd like to thank, or words of wisdom, or what do you want to leave us with? Any passing parting thoughts?
Um, no, not much. Just keep doing what you guys are doing. I love tuning in, seeing everything that you guys are doing with the interviews and with Ken and Yeti and everything. So, uh, and the videos, getting to see the local players and everything. That is something that is missed a lot. Is we see the Rickies and the Pauls out there all the time, but it's great when we get these local players, or Jomez does these final nines with the AMs and they can get on Jomez and earn their way on, and those type of things, getting these players a platform to it gets them excited about the game. You want to come back. Oh, I might make that video, I might get on that, I might get in the compilations like the one you did, just that photo compilation alone that for the intro was amazing. Doing those kind of things for a young up and coming player,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff could help could help a player get sponsored, knowing that they've got that kind of uh, media presence. If you're out there getting great photos, getting great media, getting great video of these young players coming up. So you're asking earlier how to do it. That the first step is getting visibility to the player. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of guys like you are making that happen. I don't have a
Well,
lot of video of me playing when I was younger. There weren't video cameras around all the time. So now it's like everybody has a phone, right? So
mm-hmm.
but
And
it doesn't. Now you got to get that noise out of the way and get them up to the top.
yeah, and I think with what we're doing is, it's very rudimentary, very simple, just using iPhones and stuff like that. But we want to progress to where we can actually do better, coverage and that stuff. But what it does for the player is put them in a pressure situation, and that's something that I noticed early on when Chris and I started doing this. We did a match play challenge. I challenged one of the local guys, and Chris filmed it. And I noticed right away, I was like, wow, I got to feel like Macbeth, or one of those guys that's got cameras on him all the time, and I got to feel what it's like to play under pressure, under this perceived
Did you
eye
get
in this
that? Did you
eye.
get that floaty? Like I felt like at the memorial there was like hundreds of people around. I was on the final, and Barry's like running away with it pretty much. But I can remember like feeling like I was floating above the crowd. Like there was just like surreal out of body kind of experience. And then I bent my wraith over a telephone pole right off the tee pad. And I walked up and folded it a couple times and gave it to Rex, the spotter who'd been spotting all week. Went over and grabbed the other wraith of the same type, threw it from the tee pad and parked it. Just that energy, that feeling, like I could do that all day. Like if I could be in that moment again and just relive it over and over. Now there are other tournaments that I'd say I wouldn't want to relive over and over those other moments. What I would leave some of the young players is, and I give this speech quite a bit. A lot of things are the way that we communicate with ourselves. Some of the mental game of golf books will have you write down all the things all these things you say to yourself, and then rephrase them into what they really mean, and you'll reduce that down to a very few things. You're really not dumb and an idiot, and you really just missed a shot. You can rephrase those words and then trigger and habitually stop saying them to yourself. So one of mine was, if I throw a shot up by the basket and it's a little bit off, it might be like not my perfect upshot, but it'll look a lot closer when I get there. It'll look closer when I get there. When I finally address it and get behind the disc and look up at the basket, that basket will look huge. From way back here, it looks a long ways away. Right when you get behind the disc, the basket looks huge. So you've went through all this anxiety for nothing. The other thing is, yeah, just practice that mental game. I was going to say, um, no, I think that's it. It's just practice the mental game. Keep up. Don't give up on yourself when you're having those bad days. Practice doesn't guarantee results. Doesn't guarantee success. You're gonna go out there, put in hundreds of hours of work, and you might not feel those results right away. But you might also not feel the results from your hard work because it's so subtle. You may miss all of those gains that you've made, and you're just looking at the big ones and worrying about those when you're actually making all these huge gains from your practice that are difficult to perceive. So if you guys ever want me on just to talk the game, that's what I love to do.
Hey,
Answer
real
questions.
real quick, Angela Bits, is that her name? She was talking. She was asking about or asking if you'd talk a little bit about your YMCA programs.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that was actually on my notes. I meant to bring that up earlier because I coached at the YMCA for 10 plus years in basketball, and it's just really a special place to me and my with my kids, and that's how we connected. We didn't somehow I never got across to them the love of disc golf, and I'm not giving up on it yet. I'm gonna try to get them into our little ace run thing and maybe get them hooked. But we definitely connected at the Y in basketball. What are you doing at the Y there?
Um, so I've been doing the YMCA clinics. I think this would have been my 8th year. It's the first year I haven't done them. Unfortunately, tough year for that. But what I do, and I became a parent early on. So I have 150 kids in 2 camps. So roughly 75 kids a camp, and the camp lasts 3 hours. So it doesn't take a lot of math before you are overwhelmed. And so my solution is I do have a lot of counselors to work with at the Y, fortunately. And so I divide the kids up into groups of 10, and I divide them into different. So as some kids are playing on the playground or eating their lunch, I'll have some kids out on the course, and I set up either temporary baskets or use the practice area, and I create little short holes. And what they do is they get in line, and I have everybody throw, and I go through with each child, and I do okay, show me your grip, slight bend of the wrist, slight bend of the elbow, see all it clicks into place. Now reach back, look over your shoulder, rip it. That's it. And I go through that with 150 kids. So, and I keep it pretty quick and simple. But after they throw, they go to the back of the line. And then once everybody's thrown, they all run out, grab their disc, hold it up in the air. And then whoever threw it closest to the basket, they restart a new line. And then they go through the whole process again. And this keeps everybody safe. And the other thing I do is I have them all tap themselves on their head with the disc, and they all react the same way. Ow. They realize that they hurt. And then I go through, my only rule is you don't hit anybody with the disc, or I have to take your disc away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have this really simple set of rules and this really simple process. And for 8 years, it has been fantastic. I cycle 3 hours, 75 kids through. I'm running, sweating, dripping. It's the most awful 3 hours that I love every year. And usually I do, I mean, they'll do them in like August or July. So it'll be like 98 degrees. I'm on my lunch break. I'm like, okay, I'm taking a long lunch. I'll run up, I'm changing in the car, getting out of my suit, whatever, and I'm getting out there. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's fantastic.
So we call 98 a cold front around here, by the way.
Yeah, I go put a shirt on.
Yeah. No, whenever I work in Roanoke, I just plan for it. I just like forget about it.
Wow. Well, congratulations on great career and moving forward. Keep us posted.
Yeah. Got my 100th career win and crossed $100,000 career earnings the same day, actually.
Wow.
A couple of years ago. Yeah. And then this year was inducted into the Iowa Disc Golf Hall of Fame. So it's been just kind of a blessing, and just
Never
wish my
doubt.
golf game was as good as it has been in the past. But I have a great family, and that was my girlfriend asking about the YMCA kids. So, and her son and my son are playing, so I'm enjoying. I get to go out with them, and I catch my son with his phone. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's watching Simon Lizotte videos, or they're playing Valley Golf, like that. They're having a great time,
Yeah,
He's asking me, "Dad, I really need a Cayman, I think, and like he's forehand rolling my whippets. Like, oh, I think this Firebird, he wants to throw my heavy discs and stuff. It's really cute. He's 10 now, so.
10, okay. All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Chris. We love you, man. We love what you've done. Big fan of Iowa golf and everything, growing up here. I didn't grow up there, but I grew up in the sport there. And my memories of Iowa are just incredible. And so hopefully maybe we can road trip up to C2.
Well, I'll look you up when I'm in the area too. As soon as they let us start traveling more.
Yeah, if you ever head
down Trophy Club,
go find down to H-Town.
Yeah.
Are you guys in Houston, aren't you?
Or even if you're in the Austin area, we'll travel.
It's right outside of it.
We'll
right outside the woods.
Flat Creek and the Austin golf is great.
Oh yeah. We can go up there to Austin anytime. That's where my wife's born and raised.
Oh
yeah. Go up there.
Well,
yeah, but then again, thank you once again for
appreciate
coming on tonight. So much appreciate meeting you as well. Yeah, just been awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Hopefully
Thank
get to
you,
play
Chris.
around one time.
Yes, thank
You
you.
bet, man. Nice meeting you.
All right, Chris.
Peace out.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All right. See you next time.
Thank you.